This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.
Retreat in itself has been invaluable for me as little pockets of moments to remove yourself from your everyday environment and experience the world through your senses in an entirely new way. I think creates space and openness for new things to come in.
Welcome to Well Worth It, a health and wellness podcast. My name is Mirella Petrucci and I am your host. I am a wellness coach, vocalist, soulna, sound and energy healing practitioner, and sound healing facilitator. In 2015, at the age of 31, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a condition I was told might lead to a disability that had no cause or cure. I was given no hope of recovery. However, through countless hours of researching and choosing to take control back of my own health, I found different perspectives and found that this was simply not true. On this podcast, I will share what I have learned and implemented along the way for my health and wellness since my diagnosis that has kept me well and thriving. It is my mission to empower, inspire, and teach you how to play an active role in your health too. Investing in your own health and wellness is truly well worth it. I know this firsthand. So if you are someone who is experiencing symptoms, dealing with an unknown diagnosis, chronic illness, disease or condition, or you simply want to learn how you can get back in the driver's seat of your health, this is for you. It is my obligation to share with you that the information shared on this podcast is purely for educational purposes only. All information is based on my own personal experience and represents my opinion and the opinions of my guests. It is not intended to replace the necessary measures of your primary healthcare providers, therefore should not be taken as medical advice. A creative and a mindful photographer, artist and wellbeing guide, Lisa Ray has the natural ability to bring people into a comfortable space to embody their unique expression. The combination of Lisa's years of commercial photography experience and her experience guiding wellbeing classes enables her to create an environment that is professional yet relaxed for her clients. Based in Melbourne, Lisa graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Photography from the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology in 2007. And for the past 15 years, Lisa has been creating and exhibiting her personal work whilst shooting for commercial clients and working with one of Australia's most established post-production studios. She now enjoys working alongside heart-led entrepreneurs and leaders in the wellbeing industry to bring their visions to life. Lisa is also a qualified yoga and qigong teacher and has completed training in various healing and wellbeing modalities. These interests now intersect with her unique depth of her photography experience and make for a sensory and memorable photography session. In this episode, Lisa shares her story. We talk about yin yoga, traditional Chinese medicine, meridians and acupressure. I share my healing experience through Lisa's depth of her photography experiences. We talk all things photography, fine prints, flowers, aromatherapy, and we also touch on one of my favorite topics to talk about, which is of course sound healing. Lisa and her body of work have been a huge part of my journey to wellness, and I feel truly grateful to be able to have Lisa in my life as a dear friend. There is truly so much to take away from this episode. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful Lisa Ray, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, Mirella. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm beyond thrilled.
Oh, I'm so excited to spend this time with you and have this conversation. As I was just saying before we jumped on, I was preparing for this conversation and I'm so looking forward to it because, Lisa, you have been a huge part of my journey to wellness. And I met you 4 years ago and I feel like I've known you for my whole life. So thank you so much for being here today and having this conversation with me. It's truly, truly heartfelt. So I met you at the Journey Retreat. So I had beautiful Kira on the podcast in the last episode and we spoke about the Journey Retreat. And I am so grateful that I met you at that retreat because you were the first person that introduced me to yin yoga and sound healing, which is a huge part of my journey now. So at the retreat, I instantly resonated with sound healing and I absolutely loved yin yoga. And I'd really love for you to share your story and what led you to actually becoming a yoga teacher and specifically wanting to offer yin yoga as a practice.
Yeah. Firstly, I remember meeting you also on that beautiful retreat, and I love to hear that you really resonated with the sound. That makes a lot of sense given your background. I guess for me, over the years, I've practiced yoga here and there, but it really wasn't until a time of great change in my life where I was looking for something to kind of hold me through that, or there was a few elements there. I knew I wanted to get back to yoga, but I needed to find, there's so many styles of yoga. I needed to find something that felt right for me. And I actually started practicing hot yoga, so in a heated room, and it was a beautiful vinyasa flow, and it was actually quite intense, as you can imagine. And my teacher at the time was the incredible Ryan Mannix in a studio called Rise Yoga in Richmond. And he was also teaching yin yoga. And I was curious about yin yoga. I'd heard about it. I did a lot of research. I read a lot about it. And all I kept reading was that it's quite challenging and that you hold the poses for a really prolonged period of time. And so I almost had a sense of resistance towards it initially. But then it wasn't until I just went. I just made the decision. I'm like, this is something new. And everything I was doing in this point in my life was new, and I was taking leaps and really unafraid of that unknown. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I instantly fell in love. It was like no other yoga that I had done before. There was something about the stillness that I just really loved. There was something about the spaciousness that it created in my mind, in my body. And I just kept going and going and going and returning to yin. And I think what I really loved about it too is that it was a really different approach to yoga, where a lot of the other styles that I had practiced were beautifully, deeply within the traditional lineages of yoga. Whereas yin yoga, it had this weaving through of the meridian system and so on and so forth. And so for me, that really resonated. And it almost became a whole new experience of yoga. And like many styles of yoga, it just had so much benefit. Walking out from class, everything felt quiet. It was like no matter how much was going on around me, or even how busy my mind might have been, I was able to really bask in a sense of stillness and wholeness.
That is so beautiful. And yeah, I can completely relate with that. And I remember when you were offering the sessions, that's exactly how I felt. I felt so relaxed. But the other thing was, even holding the poses for such a long time can sometimes be a bit challenging, I found, for myself. And so that was interesting as well, because sometimes when you go to a yin yoga class, you kind of go to this class and you're like, oh, I'm just going to relax. But it actually does have that challenging aspect of it as well, which I really, really love. And it, helps you get to your edge. And, you also mentioned the meridians. And I remember when, we were going through the pandemic and I was doing your online sessions and I looked forward to them every single week. And so thank you for offering them firstly. But secondly, I remember you talking about the meridians and talking about traditional Chinese medicine and talking about acupressure. And I personally absolutely love that because it allowed me to learn more about my body. And I was so more in tune with my body and, these meridians and what they're connected to, for example, like our organs. So I would really love for you to dive deeper into traditional Chinese medicine and meridians and acupressure. And yeah, what inspires you to share that in your sessions and offer that as well? And who can that benefit?
Yeah. I think just for a moment when you mentioned about yin yoga and meeting your edge, it also just reminded me how much it can build resilience. And so through times of challenge, when we know that we have the capacity within us to meet ourselves at that edge and to build resilience, I think that's something that you really cultivate on the yin yoga mat and take that into your daily life. So then, going into the pandemic, having had some of this practice in building resilience to be able to sit with discomfort, that then enables one to meet any challenge with a sense of feeling they can meet themselves there and they can take themselves where they need to go. So I actually studied yin yoga with amazing teacher, Hugh Lee. I knew that I wanted to teach yin specifically, but also did my hatha vinyasa training to really support that. That was a 200-hour training, just so that I could then go and teach yin yoga. And I learned from Hugh Lee and did an advanced training with Hugh Lee and Dr. Becky Andrews. So Dr. Becky Andrews is a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. So whilst Hugh was teaching us about, yin yoga and the anatomy and the yoga itself, Dr. Becky Andrews was able to share a little bit deeper into the Chinese medicine aspects of how that entwines with the practice. So TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine, it's thousands and thousands of years old. It's an ancient healing, unlike Western medicine, which really, likes to treat the symptoms of disease. Eastern medicine really is a holistic approach. And although I'm not a trained TCM practitioner, there are many elements within that can be weaved through within yoga, because as a whole, it includes acupressure, acupuncture, moxibustion, cupping, meditation, and energy practices such as qigong or tai chi. And I feel that yin yoga is also a part of that. So with working through the meridians, I think that's what I love about yin yoga, is that the shapes that we're creating with our body, in my mind in itself, is like a big acupressure shape for the body, because we're targeting specific meridians in each pose. And the meridian system is like, I guess you could think of it like an energetic network or highway through the body, and it's where our chi moves through. So when we're practicing yin yoga, and what I love to do is bring the acupressure into the sessions, because again, it just multi-layers on this holistic approach and creating a shape with the body, but then also accessing one of those acupressure points along the body at the same time, just multi-layers the healing experience through practice. And I guess helps to get that chi moving through the body, which then creates that wonderful sense of wellness across all levels of being.
I absolutely love your explanation of all of that. And I find it so fascinating, and I love trying new things. And there's a lot there that you shared that I was like, oh, what is that? So I'm going to look into that further. So thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, as I said, I used to love jumping online, and I love that you share different acupressure point every week. And it was just a beautiful way to really be present and understand your body more, and more about the meridians as well. And also use that as a tool as well. So, to tap into certain areas of the body by actually just pressing on certain points. So thank you so, so much for sharing that.
Oh, my pleasure. And I think the great thing about the acupressure points is that they are so accessible. So yin yoga, if you're feeling, maybe one day if your energy was feeling a little heightened, or there's a bit of stress in the body, It might be a bit tricky to whip out a yin yoga pose and jump into a child's pose in the middle of town, but some of these acupressure points are really easy you could just be sitting there holding a point on the wrist or the back of the neck, and I think that's also why I love to share them through the practice, because it's something that you can take away and be very easily accessible.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And look, I'm going to go back to when I first met you, because I remember once we connected and I connected with you on socials, I looked at your profile and I saw such beautiful images on your profile. And I was like, ooh, she's also a photographer. I'm like, Leeson's got so many beautiful gifts and talents. And so I ended up, doing a bit of research about the photography that you were doing. And at the time you were offering a soul photography session. And I just knew that I wanted to do this soul photography session. I had started my journey to wellness and I thought I'd really love to gift this to myself and use it as a celebration to celebrate where I was at in my journey. And that was the beginning of my journey. And so I'd really love to go into that a little bit further and share my experience with that, because it truly was such an amazing experience. And that session, which then evolved into the depth of her photography experience, really impacted my life. And I'm actually wearing what I actually wore that day to channel into the energy of that session, because it was so much fun. It was joyful. It was something that really empowered me to be in my presence and in my truth. And I was able to freely express. And so thank you so much for offering that session, because I remember arriving at the Darebin Parklands and, just before that, I decided to go and get my hair and makeup done. And I got there and I was all excited and I had bought this beautiful new dress and yeah, I remember meeting you there and you just had this ability to ground me. So I can have a lot of energy sometimes. I get very excited. So it was just beautiful for you to actually ground me in that present moment and allow me to feel into everything that I was experiencing. And you did that in a way that was so beautiful. You used aromatherapy, you used breath work, and yeah, I just remember that day being so beautiful. I will never forget that day and I will always cherish it. And so I would really love for you to share what inspired you to become a photographer and offer these beautiful sessions.
Oh, thank you for sharing your beautiful experience that you had through your photography experience. It's amazing to hear that they can have this impact on people. My background in photography, so I come from a commercial photography background. I studied my degree, finished back in 2006, 2007. And from then I was photographing, little, it could have been a family or anything that came my way, but I actually found myself working with retouching, so actually preparing images for print. I was working for an advertising agency for a period of time on really big fashion brands. And then I moved into a studio where I was also retouching on a lot of the major fashion and cosmetic brands, but also photographing in the studio. So at that time, it was mostly product photography, and although it was really great, it was a fabulous environment. I was around creative people, but there came to a point where, again, through this time of great change, I asked myself, what if I did this my way? I've always loved photographing people, and I was applying my skills and technical knowledge photographing these great products, but my heart was just, it wasn't creating in the way that it knew that it could and wanted and needed. So I made some big changes and I left full-time world of working. And that was actually when I started to, look into yoga and healing and all these things, and come back to my photography in the way that what initially drew me to photography, and that was I always wanted to be an artist, but it turned out that I guess the camera was my paintbrush. So having the time and the space to really, unpeel and de-layer the way that I thought I had to be creative, and giving myself the space and the opportunity to create in the way that feels the most truthful and authentic for me. And so I think throughout this time, as I was studying yoga and aromatherapy and sound healing and meditation, the more I learned about myself and the more that I started to explore, I guess, the deeper layers of life, I was able to combine this with my photography to create, which was initially called soul photography and has now evolved into the depth of her photography experience. And I was holding space for aroma zen round about that time, and that was taught by a lady called Michelle Mullins, who now owns Soul Barn in Clunes. And this was a journey through the chakras with essential oils and meditation and sound. And as I was moving through this space and I had my photography, that was kind of like, let's bring it all together and offer this sensory, embodied, held space with beautiful images as a result, as kind of a remembrance, to remember who you are and to see yourself in, like you mentioned, this truth and honor of yourself. So that's how it all really came together and continues to evolve.
Wow, that is so, so inspiring. I must say, ever since I've met you, that is something that I have been so inspired by. You're just continuously transforming yourself and you're continuously growing and evolving, and it's just really, really beautiful to see. And I want to go back to when I actually received my images, because I remember receiving my keepsake box and opening up the images. And, as I said, I decided to gift this to myself. I wasn't planning on sharing my images with anybody. It was just a gift for myself. And then I opened up this beautiful keepsake box and I thought, I cannot keep these to myself. I really want to share these. And so doing that experience actually helped me share my story. So I'm not sure if you know this or not, but it took me actually 5 years to be able to speak about my diagnosis with multiple sclerosis. And I had only shared that with my immediate family and my manager in order to help me navigate what I was going through during that period. And so after receiving these beautiful images, I looked at them and I thought, I really want to share my story by sharing these images. And I decided that I was going to write a blog and then share the particular images throughout that blog. And so through the experience, you guided me through the different chakras. So there were different images throughout that. And I remember feeling so empowered. I looked at these photos and I thought, wow, yes, I have arrived. Mm-hmm. This is me. And I really wanted to share that. And so once again, I really love to thank you for this beautiful experience, because for me, it was one of empowerment and one of joy. And again, I feel so, so grateful for that.
Oh, you are so welcome, Mirella. And all those beautiful things, the joy and everything that you felt, that was, it's incredible that that's simply everything that you are, that you allowed to rise up and through you. And then these images are simply a mirror to everything that you are.
Oh, but it's also, Lisa, seriously, you have a gift, and it's just the way you capture the images. And for anyone who has seen Lisa's work, you know what I'm talking about. There is just something about your work that is, it's just magical, really magical. So thank you so much. And I also shared my blog and experience alongside the MS Australia Kiss Goodbye to MS initiative, which was actually called the May 50K. And at that point in time, I was doing the May 50K, and I did that in, the year 2020 as well as 2021. And so I remember there being so much support around me sharing my story and what I was going through. And I feel so grateful to this day to have experienced that. You know, we raised so much money doing those May 50K experiences at that time, especially during the pandemic. And it was such a great way to connect. But the reason why I'm actually sharing this now is because I had met you through going to a retreat and then did this beautiful photography experience with you, and we became friends. And then you also joined my team, the Wellness Warriors, and were supporting me through that, and also helped raise funds around that to raise funds for MS research alongside many of the other team members that were on my team as well. And so again, I'd just like to say thank you so much. You truly embody so much love and warmth, and I'm again so grateful for that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mirella. So incredible.
Oh, no, truly, it's so heartfelt. I'm actually feeling emotional having this conversation because sometimes I feel like we don't actually reflect back on the journey, but it is when you reflect back and then you realize how far you've actually come and the people who have actually impacted your life along the way. And yeah, as I said, you've been a huge part of that. Which brings me to talk about, which I'm so excited to talk about, the depth of her experience that we recently co-created on and collaborated on, which was just magic.
So divine. Incredible. Goosebumps thinking about it.
Yes, it was seriously absolute magic. And I just really love to share that experience because you know, this was a project that we both worked on, and, you know, we had so many amazing creatives who joined the team and joined the project. And I would really love to give a shout out to the amazing people that created and captured this experience. So, you know, we had Kylie Jane Artistry, who beautified me on the day, and she was also my assistant with wardrobe.
Yes, fabulous.
Yes, she was
Casting
so
talent.
amazing. Yes, yes. And then we also had, oh my goodness, those beautiful gowns and dresses. The way that came about was just unbelievable. It aligned so, so beautifully. I still pinch myself, you know, beautiful Ellie there from Bonita Couture. I'm so grateful to have been able to wear these stunning gowns. If you don't know what a Bonita Couture gown is, you need to go to the website and have a look. If you're getting married, even if you're not, there are special occasions, even if you just want to wear it for a depth of her photography experience. So, you know.
Stunning, next level.
Absolutely stunning. We also had beautiful blooms from Teresa at Myrtle and Time Flowers, which, you know, just made the space look so beautiful. And your recommendation for Studio Hardwick was just absolutely stunning and perfect for that photography experience. And then we also had Luke Marriott visuals that captured the whole experience, which was just amazing. Such talent there as well. There was just so much magic in this experience. And for me, this particular experience was a celebration of my recovery journey. So, you know, initially it was I think it was 2019 when I did the first session, and now this was, you know, just recently, 2023. And so the progression from, you know, the first experience to the second experience was just absolutely amazing. And again, I feel so grateful for you to be able to offer that. And so in this experience, you know, you guided me once again through a beautiful breath work. You used aromatherapy, you used Qigong, you also used Blue Lotus tea. It was just absolutely stunning. So I'd like to come back to you, and I'd love for you to share how the depth of her photography experience has evolved and who this is for.
Yeah. The depth of her photography experience, it is its own experience. It's like it has its own energy, and it evolves not only as I evolve, but as the women around me evolve. So a quick question, if I may, is, you know, what, maybe 5 years between your first photography experience and the most recent one. I guess, like, when you see your images, are you able to see or feel your evolution through the beautiful mirror that you're looking at in your photographs.
Absolutely. When I look at your images, I can actually feel the essence of what I was feeling in that moment back then, and, you know, just being so joyful and happy to be on my journey to wellness. And then I look at the images from my recent depth of her experience, and I'm like, wow, look how much I've actually evolved, and look at where I'm at. And, you know, your guidance through that allowed me to be my true expression, and then to be able to capture that through images is just absolutely amazing. So yes, I feel everything in these images, and I love sharing them because it's just a huge celebration. And I feel like, you know, sometimes we, you know, there's a limitation on celebrating ourselves, but I truly believe that we should be celebrating ourselves, and we should be celebrating our achievements, and we should be celebrating, you know, the little steps in between, because it does take work to get to where you are. It takes a lot of work, and, you know, it's worth being celebrated. And, you know, celebrate yourself. I know I do. So yes, thank you for asking that question.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's why it's, you know, this is an experience for any time of life. And like you mentioned, it doesn't need to be the big things, because the journey along the way has so much beauty and depth. And an experience like this, I think it's an opportunity for women. I mean, anyone is welcome, but it is, you know, women are drawn to this experience. And it's an opportunity to see, sense and feel who you are in that moment, in that time. And that is beautiful, and that is to be honoured and treasured and cherished. And not only for that time, it's, you know, maybe 2, 3, 5, 10 years time, you can look back at this moment, you know, with love and honour and appreciation. And it's just an opportunity to see yourself, to feel your story. You know, we all have a beautiful story of who we are, and that's worth seeing, whether it's for yourself or to share with others, and you know, share yourself out with the world. Be seen.
I absolutely love that, Lisa, and thank you so much for being able to offer that experience and having that out there as something to celebrate yourself with. And I'd also like for you to share with us what other photography experiences you offer, or services, I should say, because I know for me, we've done a lot of photo shoots together, and, you know, I do quietly say, you know, you are my personal photographer.
Absolutely.
Time and time again, I'm like, oh yes, Lisa's my personal photographer. Because I just love the work that you do. And, you know, we've done photo shoots around branding, and I'd really love for you to share what you offer and what your services are.
Yeah, so, you know, not only these beautiful depth of her photography experience are out there in the world, I do also offer what I love to call presence portraits, but what is more well known out there as branding photography or personal branding photography. So also headshots, if you just need a quick update. I've got a beautiful little small space studio which is open for headshots. But personal branding or presence portraits is really, I work with a lot of people in the wellbeing space. So recently I photographed a naturopath, a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, and I photographed your beautiful offerings and services throughout the time. And so personal branding photography is a collection of portraits, but also images of the services and modalities that are on offer. So what I really love, especially about creating imagery for people in the wellbeing space, is there's this continual kind of thread that I love, that I can create a space to photograph people within their field, and then they're able to use these images again to be seen, so that they can reach their clients who are seeking their service for their own health and well-being. And then they find their practitioner, and then their well-being and health starts to improve, and then that affects their quality of life, and that affects the quality of life of the people around them. and the decisions that are made. And it's a very deep layer of looking at branding photography, which could just look like a couple of images to showcase your services, but it's always so much more, because that thread continues to move through and through from, I think, the very first intention, which is of service. So, yeah, branding, headshots. If you need a portrait taken, I'd love to create space to make beautiful, authentic portraits of people.
Absolutely love that. And it is so intentional. And I love how you use your intention when you actually guide these sessions as well. So yeah, I've also had my headshots done by you and my sonar sound and energy healing practitioner sessions as well. And yeah, it's just so grateful to have you in my life and to have you as a dear friend, but also be able to gain beautiful images from these experiences that I've had with you. And so I'd actually like to jump over to your fine prints, because, you know, there are so many depths of Lisa Ray, and this is another one which I absolutely love, where I came along to your different flowers from the same field exhibition recently with Anthony, and it was just absolutely stunning. So I would just love for you to share a little bit about your fine prints and what led you to share this art.
Yeah, it had been some time since, it had been about 10 years since I last exhibited my work, just getting kind of caught up in working, really. So again, it was a friend of mine came to visit, and she had some beautiful yellow orchids, which is in the background.
Yeah, I can see that in the background if you're watching this on video. Yeah.
Had these beautiful yellow orchids, and she gifted them to me, and they were so stunning. They were from a friend of hers garden, so they were grown organically and with love. And I wanted to honour the flower and perpetuate its life. So I felt called to create some beautiful photos. And layered upon that is this, I guess, this kind of communication or sensitivity to the energetic signature of plants. Like, we all have an energetic signature. It's, you know, what we feel when we walk into a room, we meet someone for the first time, and plants have them too. So for me, the yellow orchid just had this sense of like joy and uplift, and it's like it wanted to be present and remembered for its joyfulness. So I then created a body of work with various flowers, just kind of almost like a conversation with the flower or feeling its energetic frequency, and trying to bring that through in the image, so that, as an example, the yellow orchids, you know, you bring this into your space, you're bringing the joy into your space, you're bringing the frequency, the memory, or the feeling of that particular flower. So for me, I love nature. It's a beautiful, you know, to be so held in nature. I love flowers specifically because I see them as their own personalities, you know, the different feelings that they bring to our space. And for me, creating art with flowers just feels so... it's like a blooming heart for me. Sometimes there's no words that can describe it, but it feels like a beautiful honouring of their presence and sharing of their frequency into the space of others.
It's so beautiful, and I can resonate with that too. I know that when I go to the florist or I see beautiful flowers on my walk, it just makes you feel happy for me as well. So I can really understand that connection and how much joy it brings. And I know, yeah, if I bring flowers into my home, whether it is through prints or fresh flowers or whatever it is, it makes such a difference. So I will definitely have one of your beautiful fine prints in my home one day.
Oh, beautiful. More than
I am planning for that. And there is so much I would love to talk to you about. So I think the next thing I'd like to chat to you about is, I can see your chimes in the background there. And as I said, when I first met you, you shared sound healing in the retreat. And I remember when you were beating the medicine drum, that feeling in my body. And I remember that beat, just continuing to beat through my body, that frequency following the response. And that is just something that stuck with me and resonated with me from the get-go. And as you said, I do have a background in singing, and so I instantly resonated with that. But I'd really love to share about my journey with sound healing and how you impacted that as well. So after the retreat, I actually reached out to you and I said to you, Lisa, I'd really love to explore sound healing further. And I asked if you could recommend if there were any sound healing courses or anything like that I could do. And so you were so kind enough to send through some information. But what I remember is you even offered to jump online and go through the TOS sounds with me. Do you remember that?
I do remember, yes. It was was it the 7 healing sounds?
I believe so. Yeah. Yes. It was such a beautiful experience. When I first started my sound healing journey, I remembered my connection with my voice and how much I love to use my voice. And so, you had jumped online and you had spent your valuable time with me to go through these sounds. And I remember jumping off thinking, oh my goodness, firstly, that was so amazing. Like the vibrations that I actually felt in my body was so amazing. And now that I've done more studying and research behind it, I now understand that, it was because we were activating that parasympathetic nervous system through the vagus nerve. And so, creating these amazing vibrations in the body. And so again, thank you so much for going through that with me and offering to share your time with me to do that, because that impacted my life in such an amazing way. I am now a sound and energy healing practitioner, and I also offer sound healing in group events. And it's sometimes I look back and I think, wow, it's amazing how when you follow your heart and block out all the noise and just really do what you feel right for you, where it can lead you. So again, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome, Morella. It's absolutely beautiful to hear. And I think what I think is really amazing or really beautiful and really this sense of wholeness is, that we all have this kind of innate or passion in our life. And there's a way that it can be offered or created as a deeper experience or a deeper healing. So, example, photography and the beautiful healing modalities together has created something. And your beautiful background in singing and all the healing qualities that you're now bringing in with sound healing is this beautiful modality that's being created. And it just feels like this whole sense of wholeness, and we're all doing things differently. We're all doing things in a deeper, almost more intentional way than I feel like they ever have been done before. And I think that's a really beautiful way to live the life that we have, and a beautiful way to share the depths of who we are with others.
That is so true. It's, that uniqueness of everyone is unique in their own way. So it's such a beautiful observation, Lisa. I'm so glad you shared that. And I would really love to hear from your perspective. So as I mentioned, you incorporated a lot of sacred sound instruments in your sessions. And I'd really love to hear what inspired you to use sound in your sessions, and what sound healing, how that makes you feel and what that does for you.
My first experience with sound was I took myself to northern New South Wales and received a sound healing with the crystal bowls. And I was like, wow. I was like, oh my gosh, the feeling in my body, the sensation, the expansion was like, it was a completely different meditative experience than I had ever experienced. And I think I really resonate with sound healing in the way that it is another layer or it's another way of meditation. It's another sense to invite in with meditation, because I find that there are some people that, you know, a meditation of stillness and quietening the mind can feel a little bit challenging initially if there's a lot of thoughts. Whereas with sound healing, you don't need to really do much. Just receive and be open to receiving. And I love the fact that, that vibration can, it can so quickly and so effectively start to shift things within the body. And I think I resonate with it so much that it's a really felt experience. And as someone that lives through quite a felt experience, that's kind of my lens in life, to be able to feel sound is really quite profound. It's like it's massage for it's massage on a different level.
Yeah, that's so true. And I totally agree. It is a non-invasive experience, and you don't need to share, you know, anything that you're going through in order to feel the vibrations and the benefits of the sound that, you know, reset our cells. And I love how you beautifully described that. And it is, you know, that felt experience. You're so right. You know, there's a lot of times where people actually say to me, what is sound healing? Because, you know, for me, I didn't know what sound healing was either. And, you know, I do say it's, you know, we can explain it, but when you actually experience it, I feel as though you can actually understand a bit more, because you can actually feel those, you know, gentle shifts in our body. And so, you know, it's been used for thousands of years, and I'm looking forward to sharing more about sound healing through this journey. But thank you so much for sharing your journey, and thank you so much for offering that through your sessions as well, because I remember when I used to come to the classes at the Oshan Yoga location in Preston, you would bring out the beautiful crystal singing bowls and the chimes, and I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it because I resonated with it so much. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's such a beautiful layer to many practices.
And the other thing I'd love to chat to you about is your aromatherapy. So you mentioned, you know, using a lot of oils, and I know over the years I've purchased some beautiful essential oil mixtures, or what would you call them? Not mixture, combinations,
Blends,
or
maybe
blends. That's the word.
Yeah. They're all mixed into a blend.
Like, mixture. I was thinking this just doesn't sound right. So yes, you're mixing it into a beautiful blend. So I'd really love for you to share what inspired you to do these beautiful blends, and where has that connection come from?
Yeah. I think, you know, maybe like a lot of us is probably growing up, maybe a lot of us had tea tree oil or lavender oil in the home. So my mum always had, you know, the staples of oils around the home. I think for me, it's just another layer of working with plants. I love, like, you know, I'm very sensory, so scent for me has always resonated beautifully for me. It can, you know, it can transport you, it can move you through time. I guess I really started to explore plant oils when I was learning the process of Aroma Zen, which was the aromatherapy, meditation and sound. And then along the way, scent is, I can kind of relate. It's very different because it's a different sense, you know, sound and scent. But for me, they're almost a very similar experience in that it's like you really take it deeper into the body, where sound is so, you know, received through sound and you can feel it in the body, and then, you know, scent is through the olfactory system, but you're inhaling the plant, like you're bringing the essence of the plant into your body. And I mean, that's medicine. It's just another layer of medicine.
Yeah.
So there's a beautiful interweaving of plants. My mum's a qualified florist, and there's like names like Daisy and Rosemary through my grandmother and great-grandmother. And, you know, they're just sweet, subtle little connections through the lineage. But I feel like that there's a deeper level or a deeper story of plant communication and working with plants in their various expressions through all of the senses.
Oh, that is so, so beautiful. And your beautiful mum, it was so beautiful connecting with her online as well when you were sharing those sessions. So beautiful. And I love how you explain that. And I resonate with that as well because I'm very sensory in terms of scent as well. And every time you created a particular blend, even through the chakras, and it gives you another experience. And I resonate with that too, which I absolutely love. So thank you so much for offering that as a gift as well, because you have a gift of actually choosing specific scents, and so, so beautiful.
So the process, I'd call them intuitive blends. So it's really, actually there was someone I made a blend for, and I don't know, what their preferences are or what they may feel that they want the oils for, just given the name, and the oils are chosen intuitively. This was gifted to a friend's sister, and I received a message after she received it saying thank you, and how interesting, because the oils that I chose, they were all citrus. There was no actual florals, it was all the citrus oils. And this particular person had a bit of an aversion to sweet florals and scents and loved citrus. So really, if anything, that was just a confirmation that they were the right oils for her at that time and that period of life. So they're just beautiful, and they can work with us so beautifully.
Absolutely love that. I constantly use my chakra sprays, and I love that depending on, how I like to feel, it actually helps me. And, you mentioned citrus, and that's one of the ones that I absolutely love as well. And so, so beautiful. If you've never used essential oils before, definitely check out Lisa's intuitive blends and reach out to Lisa about that if you'd like to know more about it. And so, Lisa, I'd love to ask this question. So, what is something that you have invested in or implemented for your health and wellness that has been well worth it?
For me, I've invested in time for myself. And so whether that's creating a self-retreat, like booking an Airbnb for a weekend or a night in an environment that you love, maybe finding a local yoga studio or cafe or restaurant, taking yourself out, or finding a beautiful retreat that's already created and done for you, which I've heard about your wonderful retreat that's coming up soon. Retreat in itself has been invaluable for me, as little pockets of moments to remove yourself from your everyday environment and experience the world through your senses and in an entirely new way, I think creates space and openness for new things to come in.
That is so, so beautiful. Oh, my goodness. I have absolutely loved this conversation, and I could keep on talking to you all day, and I'm sure we will continue talking. But Lisa, I would just like to say a huge thank you so much for being a huge part of my journey to wellness, and for being with me today and sharing your presence and this time with me. And, I have said this to you time and time again, you are truly so gifted and so talented, and I just feel so grateful to have been able to have met you when I did. And thank you for sharing and continuing to sharing your gifts. And you truly are a ray of light and a ray of sunshine. Thank you so, so much.
Oh, Morella, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here today. And I mirror everything back to you. I just want to say that you are such an inspirational, incredible woman. And I feel incredibly blessed to have you in my life. Thank you for being a gorgeous friend and an incredible inspiration.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Life is all about the choices we make. You can choose to take control and look after your health and wellness. Choose to love, choose to surround yourself with amazing people, choose to be grateful, and choose to be mindful and kind, as you never know what someone else may be going through. Choose to live a beautiful life. Remember, the choice is always yours. Has this episode planted a seed or sparked some curiosity in you? Let's keep the conversation going. Join our @wellworthit.podcast Instagram community page, or stay in touch via my personal page @morella.petrucci, and be the first to know about new holistic offerings I have coming up. Also, please show some love by rating and reviewing this podcast on your favorite listening app. To your health and wellness. Until next time.
This is a Guide Your Light Network production, creating podcasts with purpose.